Good morning, St. Francis. Good morning, people of God. Today is Tuesday, October the 19th, 2021, Tuesday of the 29th week of the year. But it is also a special holy day on our calendar. It is the memorial of Saint John de Brebeuf, Isaac Jogues, and companions, Jesuit martyrs of North America. Whether it was in the 1600s, whether it was by being in the wrong place at the wrong time, unfortunately getting involved in the squabbles between the different nations that existed, particularly in upstate New York, among the native peoples at that time, whether it was because, again, their preaching was not given to themselves, or was not given to the people in a way that was appropriate or could be understood, or was believed to be something that was trying to destroy their lifestyle and their culture. Unfortunately, while the faith may have taken root among the Iroquois nation, among the Huron nation, there was a lot more difficulty, and the leadership of the Huron nation thought it best to get rid of these outsiders, to get rid of these Europeans. And unfortunately, John, Isaac, and their companions suffered martyrdom because of that. Alwaysville, New York, outside of Albany, is the place where the martyrdom is said to have occurred, and there's a great shrine there to honor the North American martyrs and their great work. What still needs to be accounted for and what still needs to be resolved, however, is the many ways in which, unfortunately, the Church did not do well in planting the faith in the lives of people. Many times it was done at the eradication of culture, at the eradication of peoples, at the enslavement of peoples, even the death and destruction of peoples. Again, there's a lot that needs to be reconciled, a lot that needs to become responsible for, to take responsibility for in the Church's failure, unfortunately, to bring peace and hope through the gospel to the native peoples of North America. And so this is another day in which to remember the work that the Church still has to do in reclaiming reconciliation and of healing some of the harm and the hurt it has caused. Coming to you today on this day that we remember John, Isaac, and their companions from a chapel, and this is the chapel in the Catholic Center. It is dedicated to Mary. I don't remember the title, however, but it is dedicated to Mary. Here on Tuesdays and Thursdays, Mass was held usually 11:30, I think 11:30, 11:45, 12, somewhere around there. We had to stop during the pandemic. We have not opened up yet to allow Mass to happen, but this chapel is here. A lovely chapel for people who do still work at the Catholic Center to come to pray, to take some time. Different liturgies do happen here to be had with small groups, but this is the chapel of the Catholic Center, in case you have never seen it before. Nice little chapel. There are special readings today for Isaac and John and their companions, but we remember today also, we look at more or less the readings for today. And so the reading for today from Romans, as Romans continues, Paul's letter to the Romans, is Romans 5, and this is the tricky one. This is the one that talks about sin and death, and then Jesus fixing all of that. And that is all true, it's all good, and it's all what Jesus does. But the way in which Paul frames it, at least the way we have translated or come to understand it, is that because of sin, death enters into the world, and because of Jesus' great sacrifice, death is eliminated, which is all true and well, But it causes the focus, again, to be upon human sinfulness, and the reason why God has to come to be a part of our history is because of our human sinfulness, because we screwed up the works and made everything bad, and so God has to bring a spin doctor, and it's Jesus, and to make everything well and good. And that can work to a point in which, though, it seems as though that because of our sinfulness, God is forced to act. And if we force God to act, then that gives us power over God, and that's not good either. So there are many scripture scholars and theologians today who will say that our understanding of Paul's statement about sin and death may be reversed, and that it isn't about sin in as much as it is about fear. And that basically it was fear of death that brings sin into the world. Because we do not see death as a passage, because we see death as an end, because we see death as something that is dark and destructive, we do everything in our power to prevent it. But that can oftentimes make us act in ways that are inhumane and awful and cruel to one another in order to preserve whatever life we have. That fear of death causes sin to enter into the world. And it is because of that fear of death that then Jesus comes to eradicate fear, which then eradicates the fear of death, which then eradicates the power of sin over us. To remember that gives us a hope that is not grounded in guilt or suffering because of what it is that we have done, but allows us to look at Christ, and what Christ again can do and must do for us to have life to its fullest. In the gospel, we hear kind of a summary of Matthew's little parable about the 10 virgins and the fact that, a couple of them run out of oil and the bridegroom comes and they have to go get the oil. And by the time they come back, everything's locked and they're left out in the cold without any cake. And the ones inside get cake. Luke basically tries to summarize this a little bit differently in saying that we must always be vigilant for the return of the bridegroom from the wedding. So this isn't even going into the wedding feast. This is after the bridegroom has been out having a great time. He's going to come back. And when he comes back, are we ready to greet him and welcome him back home? That sense of welcoming Christ back home, to this home that is creation, this home that God has created, this home that is very good, is a wonderful way in which to look at the second coming, a wonderful way in which to be ready, for what it is that we are to receive when Christ returns. It isn't about fear and trembling and foreboding, but it is about making a place and making this place, which God said was very good at creation, very good again, and very good constantly, so that when Christ comes again, there is joy in that welcome, joy in that reception, and joy in that life that comes with the fulfillment of all things. And may the Lord give you his peace.